This is Dave with cheapbooks.com. I am playing World of Tanks. This video is going to be about crew personnel, specifically the gunner. And the reason why is because the gunner has some unique characteristics that are very important that you might overlook, but will drastically improve your game. Now, when you play the game and you read the skills and the perks, it's difficult to really understand them when you first start playing the game, because you don't know what is important, what's not important, what will be used frequently, what won't. I'm going to give you an example. The first skill is Firefighting. Now, this is not that important of a skill. I would say it's medium importance, and the reason why is because your tank doesn't catch fire that often. At least I don't have a problem with my tank catching fire that often. I have the automatic fire extinguisher on all of my tanks, and it does give you a little of added protection, and I have a lot of crew members that have firefighting skills. However, it's very rare, perhaps 1 out of 100 games or 1 out of 50 games, it's rare that your tank catches on fire. So you won't use the firefighting skills and the firefighting equipment very often, but you do have to know how to use it. There's another one called Brothers in Arms, and Brothers in Arms is kind of difficult because everybody has to have it. I'm pretty sure that every crew member has to be at 100% with Brothers in Arms before it starts taking effect. It might be good if you have a tank that only has 2 crew members. For example, the ELC AMX I think only has 2 crew members, but there's a lot of tanks that have 4 or 5 crew members, especially the heavy tanks are probably going to have more crew members. There are people that do use this skill, but I'm not one of them. Now, we're talking about the gunner specifically. And you'll notice that I chose repairs, I chose camouflage, and I chose Snapshot. And I think if I had to do it over again, I would have done it completely differently. And I've been using this tank for a long time. And in fact, this particular player, this crew member, is probably my second best crew member in my entire game. Repairs are important, and obviously your vehicle becomes damaged almost every game. And you might have more than one module that becomes damaged. It could be your tracks, it could be your gun, whichever. And if your crew members have the skill to repair it, they'll repair faster, which is very useful. So almost every game this comes into play. Camouflage is also very useful. Unfortunately, we don't always know when camouflage works and when it doesn't, but being able to hide is very important, especially if you have a light tank or a medium tank. Camouflage works when you are far across the map and you're scooting around. It makes it more difficult for the enemy to see you. Even in close combat, camouflage can help you depending on what your range is. You have to be at the proper range. If you're at a certain distance, the camouflage can give you an edge. There's a little magical area. Obviously, if you're close to the enemy, you'll be detected. If you're too far, both of you will be hidden, but there's going to be a range where your camouflage might be better than his, where you can be hidden but yet see him. So that's why camouflage is important, and it comes into play in every game. The other choice here is called Snapshot. Improves accuracy during turret rotation. Now, this is useful if you have a fast tank, a light tank, a medium tank, where you're constantly moving and firing, and your tank, the turret is always turning while you're moving if you're locked on to some target. However, had I to do it over again, I would not have made the same selections, and I'm going to explain to you why. The gunner has some unique skills. One is called Designated Target. One is called Armorer, and the other one is called Deadeye. And let's read what they say. Designated Target makes targeted enemy vehicle visible for 2 more seconds. That means that, and you have to get 100% before it's active. That means that when you're shooting at somebody and he disappears, if you have this, you get an extra 2 seconds to shoot at him. And it's not just for the one that you've been shooting at. It's for all enemy vehicles. So if you're looking at an enemy target and he disappears and the guy next to him is still got another couple seconds before he becomes invisible, you extend it for everybody. It increases your chance of finding targets. And this comes into play every time you shoot. Every time that you might take a shot at the enemy, you want to make sure that he's visible. That's why this is a very important perk in the game. Armorer improves accuracy of a damaged gun. Now, the gun has to be damaged for this to take effect, and the question is, how often does your gun become damaged? I would say you could easily go 10 or 20 games without your gun being damaged. So maybe 1 out of every 20 games your gun will become damaged, depending, of course, what type of tank you drive and the skill of your opponents. I always aim for the enemy's gun because I try to intentionally damage the enemy's gun because I know the value in hitting it. It severely reduces his ability to fire back. So I would say don't focus on this skill because it's not useful in every game. It's going to be useful 1 out of every 20 games, while designated target is going to be useful every time you fire a shot at somebody. And you might fire 10 shots during a game, so over the course of 20 games, you might use Armorer once, and you might use designated target 200 times. So definitely choose designated target instead of Armorer. Now let's look at Deadeye. Increases the chance to cause damage to enemy vehicles, module, and crew. And it only works with certain different shells. Some tanks have shells. Probably the SPG might have special shells. And this is a perk. You have to be at 100%. This is very important because, again, this comes into play every time you fire your gun. Unlike Armorer, which is only when your gun is damaged. It might be 1 out of every 20 games. This, you probably make 10 shots per game if you have a medium or a heavy tank. A light tank, you could shoot probably 50 times a game. But so easily, 10 times per game, you might take advantage of the skill, and it does more damage. It sounds really good. The different aspects of the game: mobility, the ability to hide, the ability to see the enemy, the ability to cause damage. Deadeye is going to cause damage every time you shoot. Designated target gives you more chance to cause damage. You get an extra 2 seconds. However, if your loading time is long, let's say you have a 10-second loading time, which is pretty typical for a lot of tanks, you get an extra 2 seconds. It's a 20% benefit. But if you've got a tank like the E25, which has a 2.5-second loading time, you have a very good chance of getting an additional shot in at the enemy, which is very valuable. And if you have, let's say, 5 targets, and you have a 10-second reload time, you have a additional shot opportunity at the enemy. So I would definitely say, if you have a gunner, and you're going to pick the skills, I would say the most important skills for medium tank, heavy tank, perhaps SPG, perhaps tank destroyer, is going to be Deadeye, designated target, camouflage. Repairs can be done with the consumables. I use a small repair kit and the large repair kit, so I frequently do repairs. It's rare that I run out and still need to do repairs, but it does happen. Camouflage is definitely important. Snapshot, if your tank is slow, it might not matter. If you have a heavy tank and you do a lot of close combat, it's not going to matter. Snapshot matters when the tank that you're shooting at is far away from you and you're traveling quickly or he's traveling quickly. Then it comes into play. When you're close, it's really not going to matter that much. So, my final recommendation: get something, one of these 2 perks, either designated target or Deadeye. Make sure that those 2 are your high priority, and camouflage. Because of the way the game works, You have to reach 100% before these two take effect, so you may not want them to be your first skill. Or what you could do is you could, this is a technique that a professional like myself would use, and I'm going to actually use it right now. You would put Camouflage first. When it gets to 100%, you would use the reset option and switch to Deadeye, and then pick Camouflage second. When you get that to 100% and you have two skills, you would use the reset option. You would have Deadeye first, designated target second, and then you would pick Camouflage third. So I'm going to show you right now, and you do have to pay to do it. My initial choices were not that good. I'm going to repair them right now. I'm going to hit the reset button because I have the gold. And is there a discount today? No, there's no discount today. Okay. I'm going to choose Maximum Tank Academy, and I'm going to hit reset. And then I'm going to re-choose my skills and perks. So first, I want to do increased damage to enemy vehicle modules and crew. This will also increase your experience. Select designated target. Makes targeted enemy vehicles visible for 2 more seconds. Select Camouflage. Select 94% camouflage is very good. So I've drastically increased the performance of my gunner, and it should improve my gameplay. So that is for the gunner, and I will do additional videos about other crew members. After the gunner, after this third skill, Camouflage, is done, I will probably choose repairs, because I think repairs comes into play more than firefighting. There's a chance that I might stop using my automatic fire extinguisher. I haven't decided yet, but it's something that I'm going to explore doing. Okay, so that's this video, and if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments.